All right, guys. On today's Rhino Zoomcast, I got the coach from the critically acclaimed, award-winning series on Netflix, Coach Jason Brown from Last Chance U. How's it going, Coach?
Good, brother. Good. Appreciate you having me.
All right, let's start. Let's roll it back a little bit. You're born in Compton, California.
Yeah.
We see a lot of coaches on the sidelines, and we don't know how they got there. What's your,
Sure.
you was an all-area kid in high school, all-American in junior college, academically and in football. Talk about your roots in football coming up before you made this jump to be a coach.
Yeah, man, I did football, man, so I didn't have to gangbang or sell drugs. That was basically what we did growing up, man. We either did those things or we played sports. So to not be associated with gangs and the dope dealers, man, athletes weren't really fucked with a lot by those guys. So we had that common mutual respect, sort of. And so, I was the luxury of being raised by the most well-known, guys in the streets. They kind of kept everything away from me. You know what I mean? So allowed me to do my thing, and I still was a knucklehead and did dumb shit, but at the same time, that kind of steered me to making that right turn at the stop sign, not making that damn left turn. So that's what kind of saved my life, probably, man, for a long time, and that's what made me a lot. That's what kind of created my who I am, and basically created my tough skin and allowed me to carry that over to teach these youngsters the same thing that I was taught.
All right, so you go to community college, then you go to Fort Hays State, get a degree in kinesiology, which I had to look that up, and the study of body movement. And I see you've gone further and further and got a master's in that as well. So not just a football coach, a smart guy getting further in his education, not just the X's and O's, but, the academics as well, which is solid. After you left Fort Hays, you got a cup of coffee with the Chiefs. Tell me about what it's like coming from your background, going into a environment, any kid really, but just going into an environment of a structured situation where the Chiefs got an assistant for every single thing and every compartment and everywhere. What was it like going into that Chiefs camp?
Man, I was there for OTAs, man, and I got bounced around. I got cut. I went and played arena football. Then my agent got me a deal over in Europe. Went over to NFL Europe for a minute. Came back to Arena League. Went back to the Chiefs on the practice squad. It's NFL stands not for long, man. Cam Newton's figuring that out right now. So someone like me that left a Division II program, they had three guys ahead of me on, the second and third string guys, they were going to be paid regardless. So to make that roster, you were just trying to get that 10 grand a week on the practice squad, which is great money, man, for, average Joe. And so I stuck that out, man, and tried to do that and went through that route. And, I learned a lot of things, a lot about structure, organization, all those things, man. I just observed and monitored and watched all that type of stuff. And then, I learned from Dick Vermeil, certain different coaches like that. And I took a lot of that stuff and added it to my routine and my flavor, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of what created me, just looking at different coaches, like great ones that I had the luxury of being around.
All right, so then you go into coaching. You decide football career is over. You go into coaching, offensive coordinator, junior college, number one offense in the division, voted coach of the year twice. So all of that, accolades, you got a little good resume building. What brings you to Kansas, Independence Community College?
Well, going before that, I played at Fort Hays, obviously. I was at the University of New Mexico with a great coach named Rocky Long, who just left the University of San Diego State. Now he's back in New Mexico. But I had no clock, so I had to go basically sight unseen to Fort Hays State, where a coach who's now the athletic director, our rival at Independence, Coffeyville, he's the athletic director there, but he's from Independence. So he was the head coach at Fort Hays State when he called me, man, and I took my daughter, who was about 6 months old at the time. I packed her up, man, and I had to had to go somewhere. I had to go Division II. I couldn't play Division I because of my clock. And I would have been the starter at New Mexico that year, I'm pretty sure. And I said, oh, shit, man, I had to go what I had to do. I had to do what I had to do. So I took her and drove across the country to Kansas. And sight unseen, never saw the place, never been there. Western Kansas, Colorado border, you know, a town of, I don't know what it was then, 20,000 maybe, a lot bigger than Independence. And then got there, man, and you know, we did great things there for my 2 years, and then got a shot with the Chiefs. So I moved across the eastern part of the state, Missouri actually, but it was still Kansas-Missouri border. And then, so then when I came back to California years later, after my playing career, started coaching for 13 years in California, high school head coach, junior college head coach, junior college coordinator. I said, you know what? I got a call from a guy who I thought was a friend of mine. He was the head coach of Garden City, obviously, Jeff Sims, who you saw on the show. I go out to be the old coordinator at Garden City for basically about 8-9 months. And then I basically left there to take the Independence job after me and him butted heads. So obviously I left that position and went and got the Independence call. And that brought me down to Southeast Kansas. So Kansas was good to me, man, in a lot of ways, and had a lot of ties there because I played at Fort Hays with a bunch of future and now present administrators, principals, coaches, etc. So it allowed me to recruit the state of Kansas very well because I knew those guys that I played with at Fort Hays. Plus, got a lot of good relationships out there when I was a player and a coach at Garden City, and so it made an easy transition for me to go to Independence.
So you go to Independence, Netflix calls, want to do The Last Chance U with you. How do you feel about that initially, being in your, you know, you're a in-your-face kind of guy, you know, you don't hold back anything. How did you feel about having a camera crew on you 24/7? How did the school feel about it? You know, when you went going forward, was that a positive or negative? I'm sure it was a positive as far as bringing attention to the school and bringing money. And I know you said, you know, y'all built a whole lot of new turf and everything, new facilities on the program, probably had a little bit to do with that Netflix series. And then, of course, the success you had, guys going D1, guys graduating and all of that. But how do you feel looking back? Is it a positive? Is it a negative? Are you glad you did it?
So they called out of nowhere. They found out I got the job there, and in year one, you know, they hadn't won shit more than 2 or 3 games in 30 years. So year one, we go 5-4 off of a sanction year that I inherited a team that got suspended and forfeiture for fighting the year before I got there. So we ended up going 5-4. We weren't allowed to play 10 games, played 9. And shit, we lost 2 games by 1 or 2 points. We could have been 7-2 that year. But obviously they found out we had a bunch of good recruits, and they were like, well, we were at East Mississippi, and I don't know how Independence has 11 5-star recruits, and we were at East Mississippi. They only had 4, you know. So we're going to find out who this guy is. So they came and called, and I was in a staff meeting, man, going into spring the next year, the year we ended up winning it. And they were like, can we come down? And I went in my staff meeting. I told them, hell no, I don't want that shit. I didn't watch the first one. I didn't know nothing about the Netflix deal. I didn't really watch Netflix ever.
All right.
So I said, no, I don't want nothing to do with that. So I watched an episode with a couple coaches, and then I called a couple mentors of mine, Division I NFL guys that I grew up with, and they were like, Coach, you know, it's a good opportunity for young folks maybe. So I thought about it, man, and I went back to the staff, and I said, listen, you know, who am I to take away an opportunity from a bunch of young cats? And so I took the thing. Once they came down and filmed us, and they said, all right, you're a no-brainer. We're going to film you if you're interested. So I talked to the president, the AD, and everything. You know, all those facilities and all that shit we got done, I got done myself, brother. There was no help from Netflix. They gave the school like 20-30 grand maybe.
Oh, really?
I didn't get a dime, and everything facility-wise was fundraised by me and my athletic director. And former players of mine that were NFL guys or just boosters in town, some great folks there in Independence that helped me get a turf field, a weight room. A lady there got me a weight room herself. there was just a lot of those things that we had to turn over rocks and go hustle, man, and that's how we got everything built. And it was my athletic director who led the barrage and led the parade in that.
So Netflix really doesn't, other than attention, really doesn't benefit you personally in any way at all. I mean,
nah, it fucking hurt me, really. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So what happens. You got a beef with the paper, whatever. You resign. You know, you put in your resignation. Say what you say. Where are you feeling now? Do you have any ill will towards the paper, to the Montgomery Chronicle, or whatever it is, or how do you stand now that it's behind you?
Yeah, man, I'm still dealing with that shit, so I can't talk about a lot of that. But yeah, there's some cowardly cats, man. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, there's someone there that didn't like me. You know, that Chronicle guy who's one of these guys that are trying to get me caught up with this bullshit. He, you know, I never met that dude in my life. Still to this day, I've never met him. And, you know, it's one of those people, man, that just judge you for what they see and have no clue who you really are and what have you. And they just mad that you're having success in their shitty town, and they get mad at you, you know. So it is what it is, man. I'm not worried about it. It's just I can't wait till it's all over. I got something for their ass, but you know, that's just what it is, man. It is what it is, and it's fucked up. All great things come to an end, you know what I mean? So it was time to move on. I could have fought there and stayed, and because everybody that mattered wanted me to stay. It just happened to be a certain amount of people that I was like, I wasn't in the mood to fight for my job. Like, if I'm not wanted, I'm leaving.
Right. All right. So now you leave there, and now we're in the middle of this craziness anyway. I see you're doing a lot of Zoom film teaching, study. You know, what do you think in football? What's your next move when this thing breaks loose and we finally get back to playing football, actually, maybe?
Yeah. You know what? I don't know, man. I'm not sure yet. You know, I gotta get through, you know, all this other stuff and dealing with that. And you know, I was doing a book tour. I was doing a coach's clinic tour nationwide, and that shit got halted by the coronavirus and all that. So I went to the Zoom deal. And like, I got a Zoom coming up after this, and I've been doing some coaches clinics on virtual online. So, and I'm just, you know, staying in it and helping coaches out that I can. I love helping folks out if I can. If I can give you anything, I will. And so they've had a great. They've liked it so far, and I've probably done 30 of them. So it's been interesting, but I don't know, man, what the future really holds yet. I mean, I just don't know what's going to happen until you know, this thing all ends. Who knows if there's even going to be a high school or college or junior college season? I mean, I don't really know. You know, I suspect that the shit gets worse in the fall, unless it's just a bullshit deal and they all say it's all dead and it's over. You know, I don't know, but I expect the fucking flu seasons usually December, January, February. You know what I mean? So I don't know what they're gonna do if they start the season and have to halt it. That'll even be more catastrophic to me.
Well, let's talk about your podcast. You got a new podcast called the Slap Dick Podcast, and I see one of your guests, and this is kind of the guys I'm looking forward to hear and see is Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah.
How did that go down? I mean, how did you get connected with him, and what did you guys, you know, what did y'all talk about?
Man, DDP, he's a big fan and just liked the show and liked me and reached out to a couple of my publicists, and our publicists exchanged emails, and then the podcast company that I'm under set it up, and they had some contacts with them, and now and so I'm gonna do his fucking yoga, man. I'm gonna try his damn yoga out. Shit, he stood up on my podcast. We did a live Zoom video. I'm gonna release later, but he stood up, man, and grabbed his fucking feet over his head. And he's 64 years old.
Wow.
And he swears by it. And he's got a bunch of NFL, NBA, college football players doing it, and they swear by it. It's, you know, low impact on your joints, and it allows you to, you know, get a little range of motion, man. And he don't lift weights. He just eats right and does this yoga stuff. And he swears by it. So I'm gonna try it, man. He gave me a subscription. I'm gonna try it out.
That's pretty cool. All right, let's get to the TV side. Oh, you said you had a book deal. Hate Me Now, Love Me Later. Talk about that. Talk about your book real quick.
Yeah, man. That was just something I said. While I have the platform, let me use it. And I said, let's see if somebody's interested. And shit, it ends up being a 6-week #1 bestseller. And it was a big deal for a while. I mean, it was rated ahead of Tom Brady and Tony Dungy. So for 6 weeks anyway. So I just said, screw it, I'll throw it out there and so talk about what I did and who I am and how to do certain things. And now I got Fortune 500 companies, different companies using certain things I wrote in the book. So they're using them for their sales team, their management teams, their sales pitch. Car dealerships are using it. Oil companies, they've all used some things I've done in the staff with my staff and staff models and stuff like that. So it went good. It was a success, man. Maybe I'll do another one.
Cool. All right. I know you comment a good bit on like pop culture and TV stuff. Let's talk about The Last Dance real quick. I guess you're a Jordan guy. You grew up me and you the same age. So you grew up watching the Bulls domination through the 90s and stuff. And I see you posted several things on Twitter about it. What's your take on the Jordan? I mean, Michael Jordan in general. What is your take or where he ranks or what you think about him?
Man, I'm a Kobe guy, man. I grew up in the era of Larry Bird, Dr. J, Barkley, Jordan, Isaiah. Those were the greats at the time. The Celtics had the power. They had their super three too, big three or whatever you call it. Parrish, Bird, McHale, and plus they had DJ and all those guys, man. And Detroit had big three as well or more. There's been a lot of the big threes been around for a long time, but the difference is now to then every team had a big three then. Like the East was dominant. It was dominant. It was hard as hell to get out the East. And then not too far later, Shaq comes with Penny to Orlando. They become a power or at least formidable. And then you got Lakers out west, obviously, with Utah and the Trailblazers, and then Houston had their run. NBA was great then, man. I mean, the scores were 135 to 134. I mean, it was crazy. There was no zone defense. He couldn't play zone.
Right.
So I thought the game was much more physical. Obviously, it was, but it was just a lot funner to watch, man, and it was a lot more competitive, in my opinion. But now, I thought Jordan was probably the greatest of his era. I was a Bird guy and a Magic guy and all that, but then Kobe came, and you could say he emulated Jordan or what have you. I could try to emulate Bill Belichick too. It doesn't fucking mean I'm going to be as good as him. Jordan emulated him, and to me, it succeeded him. I mean, he exceeded all expectations, and he's had more game winners. He's had more. I just think Kobe had a bad rap with the whole court deal he had, and I think it cost him probably 4 MVPs that he should have got. Like Steve Nash got 2 MVPs over him. Everybody knows that's bullshit. Right. So, it's just a lot of things. I mean, Jordan didn't have that to worry about, and not his fault or nothing. It's Kobe's fault for that part of it. But at the same time, I thought Kobe was, to me, the single best player of all time. I think Jordan's right there, probably number 2. I don't have LeBron in my top 10. I don't know what everybody sees. I think he's a great dominant player, like athletically. Just like Shaq. Shaq was the most dominant big man, but he's not even near the top 5 or 10 skilled big men. You know what I mean? So I just kind of play skill set in there as a coach. I put the skill set part of it in there. LeBron, shit, what is he, 41 and 89 in the playoffs or something? I mean, he doesn't have under 40% field goal percentage. I mean, he's not winners win, man. They got that it factor. I don't know if LeBron has that it factor. He's had to go pick other Hall of Famers to play with. You should see Kobe's last championship, man. Have you seen that roster?
Yeah, like Gasol and Bynum.
Gasol was the only other guy really that was anything. I mean, and that was after Shaq. If Shaq stayed, obviously, shit, they probably win 10, 11 of them. Right. But Kobe to me is the greatest. But I think Jordan's the greatest. I think Jordan probably changed the game as far as what it is today changed it. I don't believe KD, Steph Curry, LeBron, I don't believe they could have played in that era. Kobe could have. Kobe's the only one that could have actually played in that era because of his physicality, because of his work ethic, because of he had everything that Jordan had, Kobe had. I just don't know if and you could argue, man, I argue this all the time. Name me another guy that Jordan had besides Pippen. Now, this is the thing. I'm using it against Jordan, not for Jordan. Kobe had Shaq, the most ball-dominant player of all time, and still did what he did. Jordan had fucking Luke Longley. And Winnington, you know what I mean? So think about it. He didn't have to share the ball. Pippen was a Lamar Odom type guy who was another great on-the-ball defender, wingman that just would, hit threes and great athletically. And Pippen, to me, is top 50 player, no question. But I'm just saying, he didn't have to share the ball with no big man. You heard him in The Last Dance. He's like, I didn't want Bill Cartwright to have the fucking ball.
Right.
Kobe wanted Shaq to have it, you know what I mean? Because he was the most dominant. So you have to understand that too. I kind of look at it that way. A lot of people don't look at it that way. Kobe had the best ball dominant guy ever he had to share the ball with. That's just like, Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper. They had to share the ball with the Cowboys, Troy Aikman. So and Jay Novacek. So it's harder when you kind of look at it that way. A lot of people don't look at it that way.
All right. A guilty pleasure it appears you have is the 90-Day Fiance.
Oh, yeah.
Ed, and I'll tell you what, it's weird because my girlfriend loves that show and then the pillow talk afterwards and all that other garbage. So I know when you post that, I know a lot of dudes is probably like, who the hell is Ed and who the hell is these people? But I end up being stuck watching that too, especially now because there's no baseball to watch, there's no NBA to watch, there's no golf or NASCAR, anything to watch.
Right.
So I'm stuck watching it too. What you think about that? What's your take on that situation? I know you watch it.
Man, I just got hooked up on that deal. I watched, I guess, a few other last year's one. I don't know which one the last couple of them years ago, but or seasons ago. But I was like, man, one of the producers on Last Chance U told me that it was fake. It was set up. It's real people, but it's scripted work, So I said, okay, so it makes sense that because I'm like, there's no way that fucking person's gonna go over there and do that shit. So, so now I'm just watching it, man. It's just like me and Michael Rappaport talk on the text message all the time about the shit. He had Big Day or Ed on his little Instagram live deal, and man, Rappaport's a fool for that one because that guy, there's no way. You told that fucker he'll be on People magazine cover or some shit. I don't know, man. They show pictures of that dude 20 years ago, and he looked supposedly some model, and now look at the motherfucker. He's got shark teeth and a baby face, man, a baby head. So I don't know what's going on, man. He's a weird-looking cat. That's just funny to me. I hope he don't have no health issues. Obviously he does, but I guess I don't know if he's gonna have any.
He sweats a lot. That's for damn sure.
Sweats a lot, yeah. No shit, man.
That's a hell of a
goddamn hobbit. Yeah.
That's a hell of a wake-up call to wake up. You got to wash out of a 55-gallon drum with a pot with your girlfriend's daddy standing there. That's culture shock if there ever was one right there.
Yeah. He better get his ass back to San Diego.
No kidding. One last one. I'm gonna ask you this one, and I'll let you go. I know you got a lot of things in the fire. Joe Exotic, Tiger King. What's your take on that kind of hillbilly action? I know, in Kansas, you ain't far from Oklahoma, so have you ever seen anything like this?
No, I haven't watched the whole thing. I've watched enough of it. Fuck. I don't know, man. All the guy wanted was fame his whole life. Like, that's all he wanted to do was be famous. You could tell he just wanted to be famous. Now he's fucking world famous, and he's in jail for 20 years plus of his life. I don't know. So I don't know. But it's funny. When the show came out and I saw a few things, that's literally an hour from Independence. Okay. So Tulsa's an hour from me, due south, and that's about 30 minutes southwest of that. And so I've actually been by there going to Oklahoma City and different things recruiting. And I've seen that zoo and the whole deal, and I'm like, holy shit. So I didn't know that fucker was doing all that. But the bitch is worse, Carol Baskin. Don't get it twisted. She killed his fucking husband. Now she's getting investigated.
Right. That's good. That's good stuff right there. One Netflix star to another, to another, to another. All you got to do right now is to watch the TV. Well, Coach Brown, I hope once this COVID-19's over, you get back to work. You're a hell of a watch. You're an interesting fella, smart guy, master's degree, a lot more deeper than what you see on the Netflix special. So I'm going to listen to your podcast, check out your stuff. Hopefully we see you on another Netflix film here soon.
I appreciate you having me, brother. Stay safe out there.
All right, man. Thank you, Jason.
All right, take care.
All right, bud.